What was the nugget?
Oh, that the Yankees and Stroman are mutually interested in each other. I can't remember who dropped it. It might have been Morosi, might have been someone else. Yeah, that.
What's wrong with that?
Um, I, I don't want to root for that dude. Let's put it that way. The shitheadery in general is off putting, and then the problematic stuff that he's liked and all of that that's just extremely off putting. So this is not about baseball. Baseball wise, it makes perfect sense if you're gonna give him 2 year deal, maybe makes perfect sense. He's like what 34, 33, whatever he is. It makes perfect sense from a baseball standpoint. I just don't want to root for the dude. So if they sign him, I'm not gonna get up here. Man, why did we do this? Like I'm not. I'm just gonna be like, hey, fuck that guy. Like that's kind of where I'm attacking him from, and I dislike him that much to the point I'm just like, dude, really?
He's 32. He's never the age I think he's going to be when I go to Google it. Like,
Ever?
I feel like it changes every time, and I don't mean like year over year. Obviously, it would change. But like I looked it up the other day, I thought it said 33. Now it's 32.
I swear
Um,
he was 33. So you're not
that's what I
alone.
mean. Yeah. One, I would argue you've rooted for much worse people. Much
How are we
worse.
defining rooted?
Probably tattooed on somewhere on the bicep.
listen, listen. I rooted for a team that employed a Aroldis Chapman. I didn't root for Aroldis Chapman. I think
Sure,
those are
sure.
two very different things we're talking about here. And
No,
like what I did as a child shouldn't matter. Yes, I rooted for Roger Clemens. Okay, as a kid. Okay, sorry. Like, that's what
David
it is. As a kid.
Wells. I mean, the list goes on and
Oh
on.
yeah, Chad Curtis is probably the worst of them all. Yeah.
I don't even know if I know who that is.
The left fielder. You know what? Let's keep it that way. Keep it that way. You don't know who he is? Keep it that way. You want to
Yeah.
keep it that way. Yeah. Trust
Hey,
me.
what years was he there?
Uh, what years? I mean, he was there for what? Two of the championships, I believe.
Like the earlier ones?
No, the later ones. He
Oh,
was there.
really? Oh,
He
okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Now I
yeah,
remember. Okay.
yeah. And he's a shithead. So
For
yeah.
sure. I mean, company you keep, things of that nature. Stroman. Stroman. I would fucking give a hug and a kiss if he signed with the like tomorrow. Because right now we're talking to like Clevenger. There's mutual interest there. You want to talk about objectionable human beings? Like that's if that's the route we're going, and I'm being dead serious. Sign Bauer. Like if we're going to sign that level of terrible person, sign the better version of that. Like you know what I mean? If you're gonna deal with the PR shitstorm, at least get a good player along with it. Don't get a guy who sucks at baseball and life. That's like 0 for 2. I'd rather you go 1 for 2.
And I'm not gonna lie, that's part of the thinking with Strowman. I know he's not bad, but I'm not saying he's Mike Cleven. I'm not saying he's bad.
Right.
All I'm saying is if you're gonna go for, and I'm definitely not endorsing Bauer. Let me make that clear. Definitely in any
Me neither,
context.
but that my point is more
No,
like if you're
I get
gonna
what you're saying.
sign, you know what I
If you're
mean?
gonna
Like if
sign a shit human being, you might as well sign the good shit human being. Like,
yeah,
yeah, if you're gonna sign somebody with all of the stuff going on that Marcus Stroman has going on, can you just sign a better? Can you just sign like a number two star who happens to be shit, like an ace level guy who happens to be shit? Marcus Stroman is neither of those things. So
that's kind of where like Strowman to me he's like the prototypical number 3 in the sense that he can be an ace on a given day.
right,
Over the course of a season, over the course of a contract, they're like, I mean, last year was a perfect example. Ace through the All Star break gets hurt, gets moved to the bullpen by season's end because he's not starting anymore. So that's where it's like, yeah, he's not an ace, but he's also not like a number 5 either. Like he would better either of our rotations, more so
for
ours than
sure,
yours.
for sure. And I mean, he's the Yankees need to eat up innings. And Stroman does that. Like at a minimum, he does that. Like he
For
eats up innings,
sure.
he gets ground balls, he does those things. He would not be if the Yankees acquire. Let's say the Yankees sign Jordan Montgomery and then they also sign Marcus Stroman. That's a pretty successful offseason. You can't really ask for a
For
lot more than
sure.
that.
Great offseason.
But but if you sign just Marcus Stroman, kiss my ass. Like if that's the move, if that's the one move you make in your pitch, kiss my ass, dog. Like it has to be move number 2, or excuse me, rather, he got to be the second best pitcher you acquire. Like I think that's a fair ask. Because you've been telling me about Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell. You've been leaking shit for months. Sign one of them. Like it just doesn't have to be complicated.
No, I mean the whole offseason's been complicated for everybody. The Stroman and Yankees stuff's weird because the first bit of news that leaked out, and
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea how verifiable it was, but the first bit was like Stroman's begging to play for the Yankees, and the Yankees told him fuck off. And it
And
was
then
just
the
like
next
that's
fucking day, it was they have
right.
mutual interest. It was the next day. It was the next day, not a week later, 2 weeks later. Cooler heads prevailed, or the next day, the next day. We didn't even
Yeah.
have time to stew on the report and be like, "Man, good for them," or "Man, that stinks." The next day, like, "Oh no, that was cap. Like that wasn't true at all." Like, okay, thanks, I
Well, it
guess.
was like it was particularly strange because the last person I've seen a report like that come out about was the Memphis Grizzlies tweeting from like their own account, like under no circumstances will we bring back like there's not a single circumstance
That
you could
was
come up
so
with. And but like at least that one I understood. He had just fucked up their playoff run.
that was so funny.
But
I've
like
never seen
this,
that before. That was so he will be coming back under no circumstances. Like,
yeah,
wow, you needed to tell us this?
the Grizzlies were like, "Go ahead, give us a circumstance. I got the answer already. Give just throw a circumstance at us. I promise I know what we're gonna say." So, but like that was dumb, but it made more sense than two players, like a player and a team that have never. I'm not gonna say they've never interacted. Obviously, they're in the division together, but it's not a guy who has like some long sordid history with the organization. That's why I was like, this is a peculiar report to just fall from the sky.
Out of nowhere, because they were not linked to begin with. It's not like because Stroman's been a free agent the whole time. I haven't heard a word about him until now. I
No.
haven't heard a word about Stroman until now. And then they're like, oh yeah, the Yankees basically told him to go pound sand the next day. No, they have mutual interest. Like the next day, not the next week, not the next month. What changed in not even it was like 12 hours later. What
Yeah.
changed in 12 hours
Tomorrow, it's
that
like he's the
quickly?
highest paid pitcher in baseball. Yankees ace. Like, well, this is
Right. Like how
progressing
do
at
like
quite a
right, this is
rate.
progressing at an insane rate. Not they have no interest to the Yankees are warming to Stroman. No, it's just no, the Yankees are actually interested. Like that report yesterday was bullshit. Okay, I guess.
Yeah. Well, one of them is. We'll find out. As someone who's like a massive Jalen Brown fan, the likes and retweets and stuff. Listen, I'm already rooting
Yeah,
for. They're in the same camp in
yeah,
some regard, not all
yeah,
regards. I don't want to bring Jalen too far into it, but
yeah. It ain't,
they're sitting in
yeah,
similar tables. They're looking at different black
yeah.
frats the same way.
It's like they're in the same room, just different tables. Like
Right,
yeah, one is close to the front, one's close to the back. Like that's
Kanye's
how
in the
it goes.
middle of them. So that's where it's like, yeah, every single person who plays for the team, they're gonna say objectionable shit to and some varying degree of how horrifying it is. I'm not gonna agree with every single person on every single thing. Again, like I said, Stroman, much prefer him to Clevenger. Like, not even a conversation in that regard.
I
Poor
mean,
Michael
Clevenger
Lorenzen.
used to be good though. What if they could get something out of Mike Clevenger?
Well, that's where it's like Lorenzen, this poor fucking guy. He seems like a nice enough guy. The worst thing he ever did was pitch for like the Reds and Tigers. I don't know that he's ever done anything worse than that in his life. No one wants him. What's going on?
I don't know, man.
Anyone?
Finally, Imanaga signed. I'm just like, can we pick up the pace a little bit? Like it's
He
January. We've been staring at the same names at the top of the pitching free agent market ever since Yamamoto signed, and that was what like a month ago.
It's been a while. Shota
Feels like a year ago, but yeah.
Shota at least had a hard deadline. Like everyone else does not. So that even him signing doesn't make me feel like,
Oh no, it has nothing to do with it. No, it has
now there's gonna
nothing
be
to
some
do with it
flurry
whatsoever.
of deals. But
Nah, bro. Nah.
the Cubs reach an agreement with Shota and Magana. The poor Giants. Anytime I see a report that the Giants are the leaders in the clubhouse, it might as well say like the Giants, their money is no good here. Like Young Ho Lee, when he signed with the Giants, there was no they're the favorites. He just signed with them. Anytime the Giants are favorites to sign someone, they just get leveraged more than any team in the league. And they didn't even get, like, what was his offer before they got leveraged? Because he only got 15 per. But we don't even know.
Yeah, I have no idea. At this point, the Giants are just the team that you leak out there when you're dying for somebody else to do so. Just like, please don't make me go there. Please, I'm beg, do not make me go to San Francisco. That's what the leaks are for at this point, because it happens the same way every time.
Every time. And if I were a Giants fan, seeing my team as the front runner, the guy's on his way to to Kinko's to print out the contract. Like, all right, I know we're not signing this guy. Like, I know this guy's not coming here. And that stinks because obviously he's not Yamamoto, or doesn't project to be Yamamoto. We still don't even know the number he signed. We don't know the total number, right?
No,
Just 15 per. Very
like
peculiar.
they leaked. I thought they said 4 for 60, and then they kind of walked that back. So
That would be insane.
I don't know.
No matter what, if you're a Red Sox fan, this has to infuriate you. Seeing the 15 per, and then seeing, I believe it was Alex Spear, come out and be like, the Red Sox offer was not competitive to what he signed for. What did they offer if it wasn't competitive with 15? You just gave Giolito about 20. We'll call it 20 for the sake of argument. Obviously, he has a major league track record of being good. Not a recent track record, but a track record nevertheless. I look at Shota as a floor riser, not a ceiling riser, in the sense that, much like you were saying with Stroman, he's going to eat innings.
Yep.
He's going to be very dependent on how many home runs he's going to give up. But he's a pitcher who's going to go give you innings, get strikeouts, get the ball over the plate. All things Craig Breslow and company were like, that's exactly what we're targeting. So that's where it's like, if you're not competitive with 15, the fuck are we doing? You don't need to trade Kenley Jansen to sign this guy. Like, you can do both those things.
They really disagree. They disagree with you, if it appears.
I don't know what their feelings are, and I also don't care, because they're at a point. I've seen a couple of people be like, "Oh, if certain things don't happen the rest of the offseason, like, no one's going to be louder critic of the ownership than me." And it's like, buddy, I've been here since I got off the duck boat in 2018. Like, if Mookie Betts is gone, I am going to cause a scene. And now we're 5 years later, and people are like, why are you still talking about Mookie Betts? Because that's where the conversation starts. Anyone out here trying to tell you the conversation starts at a different point in time is an asshole and is incorrect. Don't listen to those people. It starts with Mookie Betts. That's when the change happened. That's when the shift happened. And I feel like a goddamn time traveler, because I'm sure I'm sure there was someone standing on a fucking corner in Southie in 1919 saying the same goddamn thing about selling Babe Ruth. They got the same tin of beans 100 years apart. It's fucking insane. And now we can't give this guy. I don't think Imanaga is going to be battling for Cy Youngs. I don't think that at all. The Red Sox rotation needs exactly what he brings to the table. Of course, they need guys better than him too, but they need a guy in the middle just to stabilize the shit. You're hoping Giolito does that. If he gives up 41 fucking home runs again, that doesn't stabilize shit. We already have that at home. His name's Vetta. We didn't need another one of those if he's not going to turn back into the guy he was with the White Sox 3 years ago. I don't understand. I don't understand. You're getting outbid for a guy who's probably going to be either 75 or $90 million seems like what his contract's going to be.
On one end, it's like, I'd rather you just sit it out altogether, as opposed to giving these, I can't even say half-ass effort. I think that's giving them too much credit. Just full ass. Like, just ass. The effort's at. Like, what do we, it's one thing to tell me, I mean, I know who they're pandering to when they leak these kind of reports, because fans will eat up, a lot of fans anyway will eat up anything, and it's, oh well, they tried. Or my favorite, oh, he's just greedy. If he wanted to be here, he'd take less money. You've heard that one before. So it's just, me, the type of fan I am, I'd rather you just sit it out. Because
Sure.
if it leaks that you weren't competitive for an offer of $15 million a year in this market, then what the fuck was the point of calling him in the first place? Because
Right.
Lucas Giolito, the guy you paid, got $20 million, and Lucas Giolito ain't been good in 3 years. He got paid $20 million. That's what the market. Frankie Montas has a pitch in like 2 years. He got $17 million. Like the market says what it fucking says. So what do you, if you're offering, like, let's pretend for argument's sake they offered him like 3 for 33 or something like that, right? What on earth makes you think he's going to accept that, or that's anything close to being accepted?
Right.
Nothing about the market says that that's what's going to be the going rate.
Right. And I mean, people, when Seth Lugo signed with the Royals, were like, oh, you didn't really want to give Seth Lugo 15, did you? And that wasn't really ever the point. It's that the Red Sox keep announcing to the world that they're targeting these guys, and then they're unable to land them. That's the
And
troublesome
they're
part.
losing to reasonable ass bids. It's
Right.
not like somebody paid showed up $30 million a year. Then everybody would be like, "Oh yeah, we get it, we get
Sure.
it."
Yeah. There
No,
were
that's not the case.
before the deal came out, there were plenty of people who were like, if he's going to get over 100, I'd rather just not. And it was like, I can understand that.
Right.
But that's also the thing where it's like, all right, either you think this guy can help your rotation or you don't. And if you don't, why are you bidding at all? Why are you even at the table if you just don't think he's that good to begin with?
Right.
That so it's either like you're identifying talent incorrectly, or you have no idea what the market like. These aren't competitive offers like 10 years ago, let alone now.
Right. And again, you just signed somebody. Like, you know what the market is. You played in it directly just like a week and a half ago, not even that long ago. Lucas Giolito didn't sign 4 months ago. He didn't sign last year. He signed like a week and a half ago. You know good and fucking well what the market is going to say. So what are you picking up the phone and calling and exchanging messages or whatever it is with his agent if you were going to offer shit that's not competitive with $15 million a year? Not 25, not 27, not 35, 15. If you can't be competitive with that, why are you wasting your time? And
Yeah,
his.
it's insane. I someone else also leaked that someone offered double. I would assume that's the
Cap.
Giants.
That's fucking nonsense.
Well, I could see the Giants
Cap.
paying more. They've got all that crime they
Oh
have to
yeah, for sure.
do.
But double? No way. Like,
Well,
if
we
you
don't
tell
even know what the
me,
total is. So if they offered 100 and he got 50, like maybe they did offer double.
oh, I'll believe that when I see it. Like, let them report it. Like, somebody passing, whoever wants to report it and give me the ins and outs, I'll believe it. I will believe somebody turned down double the offer what they got when I see that shit
Sure.
from a reputable source.
Um, but for the Cubs, I feel like if someone posted their rotation yesterday, and it's like Steele was great last year. Could understandably see some regression. I'm not saying he's going to suck, but I could see a little
Right.
regression. They basically swapped out Stroman with Imanaga. Kyle Hendricks is 1,000 years old.
Yes,
Uh,
he is.
you know what I mean? Like that. Like as I was saying, even if I was going to say it about the Red Sox here, I think it raises their floor. I think it does nothing to their ceiling. Like I kind of think they're the same as they were at the end of the season. And I wouldn't have said the same about the Red Sox if they signed him, only because the Cubs pitching was better than the Red Sox last year.
More or less, it given what they did with Justin Steele, and I get that that's one pitcher and it's one example over one season. I'm curious to see if they could potentially maximize Imanaga's ceiling, since I'm not. They're kind of similar. Like,
Sure.
they're kind of similar. Imanaga doesn't throw as hard, but they have similar traits and all that. So I'm curious, like, what they do with his pitch mix. Like, do they end up with them throwing a cutter, stuff like that? So I don't. As of now, I think he profiles to be your garden variety mid range starter, mid rotation starter. We'll see if he could be a little bit more than that. I don't think he's ever going to be nobody's ace, which is fine. He doesn't have to be.
No.
Well, he doesn't have to be, but I think ultimately it's going to just depend on how much they could get out of him, and maybe they could get more out of him than we expect. But as of now, it just looks like a team that you replaced one mid rotation starter with another. That's how it looks right now.
Right, which is not dissimilar to swapping out Chris Sale and bringing in Lucas Giolito. I'll,
I don't know about all of that, buddy.
what do you mean?
Chris Sale is clearly better than Lucas Giolito at pitching baseballs. He just never actually pitches baseballs.
That's a huge part of the job.
Of course it is.
That's a huge part of the job.
Of course it is.
And
But you
I
picking
would
one
also go
player.
as far to say is Giolito's been better more recently than Sale for like a whole full season.
Touche. You got
Yeah,
that.
like that's. I mean,
Touche.
Sale said as much recently.
Lucas Giolito's good. He's gonna pitch. He's gonna go out there. He's gonna take the
No
no
doubt.
fifth day. He's gonna go out there. He might give up 8 home runs on that 5th day, but he's gonna go out there. He's gonna get.
Well,
the
I
ball.
mean, to your point about what you just said about the Cubs, part of getting Justin Steele to being as good as he was is now on the Red Sox. That's Craig Breslow. So we'll actually see if the Cubs, how they transition their pitching academy with new guys, because
And that's why the Red Sox are negotiating like they are, because they believe they can make anything. They can make great pitchers out of anybody. So they're just like, all right, take our little $8 million or pound sand.
I think if they would have one pitcher throw all 162 games, they would next year. I think that's exactly what John Henry's trying to do. They canceled. So I don't know if the Yankees do anything like this, but the Red Sox have this thing called Winter Weekend where
I was waiting for this to come up. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, they have Winter Weekend. I wasn't going to bring it up until I realized I need to, because it's just like, do the Yankees do anything like this before I go on?
Oh, that is a good question.
Right, very helpful.
I think they do. I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
So the Red Sox have Winter Weekend. Used to be in Connecticut at Mohegan Sun or Foxwoods, one of the fucking casinos. They moved it to Springfield, Massachusetts. Everyone hates it. They typically have a town hall where people get to ask questions. Ownership's not there every year. It's kind of being reported like ownership's there every year. That's not true. Ownership's largely full of cowards, and they hide a lot. They were there last year because it was fresh off the Devers signing, so they felt like, oh, people will welcome us like heroes. That's not what happened.
Yeah.
And Jared Carrabis asked John Henry right to his face, like, do you care? Do you care about this team anymore? And Henry was just kind of like, what kind of fucking question is that? Like, he just looked at his watch.
A reasonable one, if you ask me, but okay.
Sure. He looked at his watch. I still don't know what that response, like, that was his whole response. He just looked at his watch.
Like, oh, what? Okay. He didn't say any words?
He may have said something after that, but like the whole takeaway was like he looked at his watch, like, what are we doing here? It never made sense. It was such a bad response from him. But credit to Jared, he asked him directly to his face, like, do you give a fuck about this team anymore? None of his actions imply that he does. There are a lot of people in the Red Sox zeitgeist that are under the impression that he's trying to sell the team in 2 years, which is why they aren't giving out contracts longer than a 1 or 3 year deal to Lucas Giolito. Like, they just aren't doing that with anyone. I don't really see any other evidence other than that they're planning on signing. I don't know what big other toy is going to come available. If they were going to truly gut the team to make it as cheap as possible for someone buying it, why would they re-sign Devers? You know what I mean? Like, I don't. The fans would come roaring back if he sold it in 2 years with or without Devers. You know what I mean? Like, that wouldn't be an issue. So I'll believe it when I see it in terms of selling. I don't even necessarily want him to sell. I just want him to act like he acted for 20 fucking years before he hit a switch. And then this year, we're about like a week out from Winter Weekend. Like, it's next weekend. And they announced today there will be no town hall. Town hall's being replaced. This part I actually do think is funny, with a Jonathan Papelbon live podcast. I don't even think this guy podcasts like that.
Excuse me?
They just have Papelbon up there to yell at people, which is an all-time pivot.
I kind of respect that. I'm not gonna lie. As wild as that, like, that is a wild pivot. I didn't even know that part. I had no idea. Like, I knew they canceled or they shifted from it because I saw Red Sox fans talking about it. But I didn't know their alternative is Papelbon just yelling at the clouds. Like, that's
Well, I mean, Papelbon's so far had the best move of the Red Sox offseason, which is telling Alex Verdugo to shut the fuck up. Like, that's the only positive thing the Red Sox have done this offseason. So,
I disagree.
so that's where they were like, you know, who's got our back? Pap, get him up there. But yeah, I mean, it's cowardice, plain and simple. They know as well as anyone what public reception to what everything that's happened is right now. They don't want to face questions like, hey, you fired Chaim Bloom for doing exactly what you asked him to do, and then you hired a guy and have demanded he act exactly as Chaim Bloom did. And also you said we were going to be spending as much as any team this year, because people only focus on the Tom Warner full throttle comment. That's not even where it started. During the firing of Chaim Bloom press conference that Sam Kennedy held, he was talking some shit like, we are going to be spending like the Red Sox you used to know. So it's not just the full throttle comment. They've been talking about spending all fucking, the last season was still happening. This wasn't even the off season yet. It was September. They were like, wow, the pocketbook is open. Finally, we're free from Chaim. And now it's like, no, you're not. It's worse, you could argue. You could argue it's worse. And that's not a knock on Breslow. I like Vaughn. You know, I'm high on Giolito's bounce back. That still remains to be seen, but I'm high on it. I understand that. We haven't done anything else. We haven't done anything
What
else.
if they're just being fiscally responsible, Coley?
I don't know that they are.
I mean, maybe they are. We've seen these contracts flying out.
They're paying
like Lucas Giolito get. Oh wait, sorry, the Red Sox.
They're paying Chris Sale to pitch for a different team. Like, how is that fiscally? What's the definition? How is that fiscally responsible?
Oh, they paid to get Vaughn Grissom.
I'm also under the impression they could have just traded for Vaughn.
You're probably wrong. I think if they could have, they would have.
I don't know. If you go in there saying we're going to do it this way, then yeah, they're probably just going to be like, okay.
And you think it started that way?
I think the Braves probably initiated it. Yeah,
sounds fair.
I absolutely think the Braves called for Chris Sale. They were they've made multiple trades this offseason.
Yeah, the Braves are acting like me in my dynasty leagues. They're just trading just to do. Or what's the old boy's name from Seattle? DePoto.
Yeah,
him. Yeah, like that dude. If he goes a month without a trade, like his skin starts to itch, and he just has to make a trade. It doesn't matter who. It doesn't matter how. It doesn't matter how inconsequential it is. Jerry DePoto cannot sit for a month and not do a fucking trade.
No, and I respect it. That's the way to do it. But yeah, I don't. I'd be shocked to find out that the Red Sox initiated those talks.
It's probably fair.
And Breslow himself would have to tell me exactly how it went down. A reporter that's employed by the Red Sox telling me, no, they went out and they looked at Vaughn. No, you didn't. You did not. Because, and that also doesn't make sense.
The Red Sox media?
Well, it also doesn't make sense because, like, all Craig said is, like, we're focused on pitching. That's all he said all offseason. So that's where it's like, all right, sick. It's also come out, which I told you after the end of last episode, that the Red Sox offered Teoscar Hernandez 2 years and $28 million. And that's become public now. And he signed for, what was it, like 23?
One for 23.
One for 23. Like, he gets it in like 2045.
Right.
And it's a bad look for the Red Sox, but it's also a bad look for like the rest of the league. People keep getting mad at the Dodgers. Like, open your fucking eyes. 29 other teams couldn't beat that offer for an objectively really good right-handed bat. That's insane to me.
I mean, you're not wrong. And in general, that's kind of why I find, well, not kind of. I find the whining about the Dodgers and how they move off-putting. Now, full disclosure, I'm a Yankee fan. And I'm damn sure I'm not going to complain about other people's high payrolls. That would be ridiculous. So I'm not going to do it. So I can't relate to the people who root for like the fucking Royals and all that. Like, I can't relate to those people. But at the same time, like, not only is T.O. a good hitter, you don't even have to pay him that long. Like, it's either 1 or 2 years. Like, if we're talking about T.O.'s like 31. If we were talking about a 5-6 year deal, okay, fine, we're having a different conversation. Not everybody could afford to do that. like the Dodgers doing something like that as opposed to the Pirates. Very, very different. Understood, brother. You were paying that man for 5 minutes. Like there's no reason why we got to hear about other teams. Like other teams whining about what about the Dodgers? Anybody could have done this shit.
Right.
All of them could have done this shit. It's $23 million for a year. Anybody could have done this shit. And if you want to say, okay, maybe he wouldn't have signed one for 23 with somebody else, he damn sure would have signed two for 46.
Yeah,
I'm
two
assuming.
for 40, I think gets it done. Two for
Right,
40.
2 for 40. He damn sure he would have signed two for whatever amount of money. So you could have easily given him that. The Dodgers just happened to want to win, and they happened to realize the
Crazy
offseason's fucking
concept.
started.
Yeah.
Wild concepts. They realize the offseason started and they want to win. So they're going out there and they're trying to acquire players in order to do so. Novel concept. I don't want to hear the bitching about their money and this, that, third. They still don't have the highest payroll in baseball. Some fucking how. They've spent $1 billion this offseason and they do not have the highest payroll in baseball. Miss me with the shit, please.
I think like 2 for 36 gets it done. True. I don't even think you have to hit 40. Like he's not getting any of that, or he's not getting a chunk of that money until a decade from now. So if you were like, no deferrals, 2 for 36, I think he signs really with anybody. I don't think he would have been like,
I don't think he cares. Like, just give me the 2 for 36. I'll play on Pluto for that. Who cares? Just give it to me.
I think the Red Sox saw that, and then they turned to Jorge Soler and said, "Hey, we still have 2 for 28. Like we're doing the poverty version of what the Padres did last year, where the Padres were like, we've got $200 million for fucking somebody. You know what I mean? Anybody want it? The Red Sox are like, we have $28 million over 2 years for one of you fucking idiots. Like anyone want to take it?
Red Sox are like, hey man, we got 28 for you. I'm looking for 45. Red Sox like, hey, we got 28 for you, bro. Like, we don't got more than that. We got 28, 27 plus 1. We got 28. Like, I told you, I'm looking for 42. That's cool, but we got 28 for you.
It's frustrating because it's like I don't even know what their end game is. It seems like I saw Chris Cotillo put out his roster projection about a week ago. He has them trading for Luzardo, I guess. I not even I guess to the player. I don't even know how they would pull that off at this point. Like I have no idea.
Oh, I could tell you. Marcelo's up out of there, baby.
I'm sure you would love that. I can't imagine.
Out of there, baby.
I mean, that's the type of thing that, like, if Breslow wants to be fired, he should definitely do that. And maybe he does want to be fired because I'm sure he was sold this job under false pretenses. There's no way they were like, hey, you know how everyone fucking hates Simon Bloom because of our actions? We're going to do the same shit to you. I'm sure that was not
we going on the same way. You're on the same way. Yeah, I mean, Marcelo's up out of there.
By the way, shout out to Heim, hired by the St. Louis Cardinals. So if you thought the Cardinals were dead, their farm system's about to be booming. Give it 2 years. I know they've got a decent pick this year because they were terrible last year. So congrats to the Cardinals. And congrats to Heim. He's also still living in Boston to do that job. So he doesn't have to move. He doesn't have to do shit. He's just laid up at the house scouting. Pretty good.
Nice.
But he has Luzardo and he has them re-signing Adam Duvall, which unto Adam Duvall, fine player, raked in Boston when he was healthy, but looked good when he was healthy for the Red Sox. For the offseason, that really fucking stinks. Like that's terrible. If your whole thing is like, we're basically just going to run it back. Like a team we know was bad last year, we're just going to run that back. We talked about it in the early episodes of this show. The Red Sox were realistic upgrades away from being like a legitimate playoff team. And they're just like, we're all set. We're actually going to trade our closer, trade our right fielder, bring in a guy who gets injured all the time to replace him and also not play right field. I guess Tyler O'Neill's just going to play left. That's just locked in now. So that's.
Are we sure about that?
I haven't read a single reputable person have him in right field. Not a one.
That's a choice.
I
That's a
mean,
shame.
maybe if Abreu is going to be our right fielder, maybe he's better defensively than I was able to see. It's not like he was bad when he was out there last year, but
I
we'll
mean, you could
see.
just have him play left. I
No
don't.
doubt.
I
No.
don't understand. Like, why
Listen,
don't?
they could have Masaki Yoshida in left right now. He's about to get traded for reasons I don't even understand. Last year, every GM in the league laughed at that deal and said he was dog shit. Now someone's going to trade for him. That doesn't make any fucking sense.
What do you mean? A lot's changed in a year.
Like what?
His performance.
Still, if no one really knocked his performance, they just knocked the deal.
I mean, fair, but they probably didn't think his game would translate that well. I don't know why, but they did because I remember reading the same shit that you read, and I'm like, for if he just does the same stuff he was doing, maybe to a lesser degree, how are you going to sit here and tell me he's not worth $16 million in this market? Again, bruh, you had people begging for the Yankees and other teams to give Andrew Benintendi what he wanted in this economy. But Yoshida's a promise $16 million a year. Come on, dog. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I watched 135 games last year. I know one person who watches 162. Anyone else claiming they watch 162 is just lying to you. I watched about 135 last year. I can't recall a single like wildly misplayed ball from Yoshida. Now, is he like gonna get to every ball? No, but it's like where are the fuck ups? Like that's how I view like a bad detrimental left fielder. It's left field. Like what? He's fine. He's completely fine out there. This idea that he has to be the DH or he has to be traded is insane to me.
All right, so let me cut you off, and we're gonna go back to Shota for a minute. He signed a 4-year, $53 million deal. After 2 years, the team has the option to extend the contract to $80 million over 5.
Who posted this?
That's from Jesse Rogers. You said what? Yeah, Jesse Rogers.
So, hold on.
And if somebody wants to give me this alleged proof that he turned out $106 million, I would love to see it, buddy.
Oh, and it's the same option after the third. So it's 2 years. There's an option to basically make it a 3-year deal, and then there's another option after the third year that would kick it to 5.
Oh, I didn't see that part. Who tweeted that?
That's
sorry. Sorry. I didn't read the last sentence. My bad. Mm-hmm. Same after 3 years. Yeah, there you go. Mm-hmm. Yep.
The Red Sox were not close to this per the reports of the Red Sox.
That's 4 for 53 and not being compared. And granted, I know it could be.
It's 2 for 30. It's not. It's 2 for 30.
Not even.
Well, it's no doubt a 2-year deal.
Yeah, at a minimum, it's 2 years at 13 per, basically. So it's 2 years, 27, and the Red Sox are like, no, like we can't do that. We ain't got it. What happened to a once great franchise? What happened? What went wrong? Like it's sad. Okay, it's not sad, but what's going on? What is this?
They didn't even like. That means they didn't even offer the Teoscar deal to him.
Which is crazy. I don't. So, what did you think you were going to get him for? I don't understand. That's the part I don't understand.
They offer him like a 1-year deal.
Probably. They probably offered him the Montas deal for all we fucking know. Like here's 1 year, $60 million. That's all we got. I was like, if there's 5-6 teams interested, what makes you think you're gonna get him? Why waste time?
I don't know. To be true, I mean, I'm still furious at the Red Sox. Why no one else could beat this?
I mean, we were gonna get there. We were gonna get there because I'm granted we can say whatever you want about he's a fly ball heavy pitches to the third. Okay, things can change, things can be managed, yada yada yada. I've been hearing all offseason how everybody needs pitching. The whole world needs pitching. We got people like Lucas Giolito. I keep dunking on Lucas Giolito. It's not intentional, but he just got $20 million and he gave up 50 home runs last year. Like, Frankie Montas hasn't pitched in 2 years. He got $16.5 million. Luis Severino had like a 7 ERA last year. He got $13 million, and this dude gets 4 for 50. Like, excuse me, sorry, 2 for 26. Basically, is what that deal actually is. My
Is it
bad.
a five? Like, this is where Twitter's the worst sometimes. Is it an additional 5 for 80?
The way they make it sound, or at least the way I read it anyway, is that it could max out at 5 for 80. That's how I took it.
Right. That's where but it's being
But
reported as
it
four.
could be 5 for 80. Who the fuck knows? It could be an additional 5 for 80.
It has
Who
to
the
be an
fuck knows?
additional five because if being reported as 4 for 53, that's not even an option. Like, that's not even.
Because he said extend the contract 80. Extend the contract. Oh, you know what? Yeah.
I guess if you
After
extend
rereading
it
it,
after the
it
third, that would be
sounds
a 4 year.
like, yeah. After rereading it, it definitely sounds like you could tack on the 5 for 80 as opposed to it being 5 for 80. Yeah, big difference. If that's the case, then
But even
that's
it's
good. But
still
it's still light.
roughly $100 million. You
It's
know what I
still
mean?
light in this market. The market says what it says, and it's been telling us this over and over and over again. Like we have people, and again, it's no disrespect to Jordan Montgomery. He's a perfectly good pitcher, but you got people like, yo, give him $150 million, and it's like, when did we make this sharp turn into just pitchers are the prize? Because they've always been important, they've always been valuable. I don't ever remember a market quite like this. And now maybe part of it is there's no top dog really. I mean, Yamamoto was fine, and that's a special set of circumstances. But there's no real top dog. So now we're just like, all right, you're the top of the shitty market. So here you go.
It, it
I don't
feels
know.
so disrespectful to Snell. I get people don't necessarily, not everyone loves his style of pitching. He's won 2 Cy Young. It's like, if that doesn't mean anything anymore, get rid of the award, honestly.
True. But
He's not 37. I mean, even fucking Verlander and Scherzer hit the market when they're over 40, and people are
and
like,
they got
here's
40
$80
per.
million. Like,
So they got 40 per. So I mean, fair. And I guess I don't think of Snell as a top dog, but he is.
he
So
is. He's got the resume of
he
one.
is. Right. He is. I mean, Blake Snell puts together 2-3 more like 3.2 ERA kind of years. We're talking about him in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Legitimately. So it's just I don't think of him in that way. Maybe that's a me problem. So it is.
Yeah. Snell. And it seems like teams are like calling these guys being like, is the price down yet? Like, did the price go down?
Oh,
I don't.
1,000%. That's what's going on. That's 100% going on right now.
And it's just like any team out there could just go sign one of them tomorrow. And like, I don't know any of them personally, obviously. If they're getting low ball after low ball after low ball, and someone's just like, here's market value. We've seen the Rangers, the Texas Rangers were a nobody organization 3 years ago. Like, no offense, but they were.
That's what it was, yeah.
And they were just like, hey, Corey Seager, I know you've lived in literally Los Angeles your whole life. Do you like money? He was like, I sure do. And they signed there.
Yeah.
Marcus Semien, do you like money? We're also not going to let you play short, by the way. You're going to come here just for money, right? He was like, I will. I'll have more at-bats in the season than anyone's ever even thought was possible for this money. Like, that's really all it takes. Everyone wants to be like, oh, of course only the Dodgers could do this. No, they couldn't. Do you remember the offseason? What was it? It was like Burley, Pujols. They all hit free agency at the same time, and it was like the Marlins are going to sign all of them. Do you remember that narrative? Like the Marlins were like,
yes,
we're just going to give out $500 million for like the top.
and then they signed nobody.
Didn't they get Burley? I thought they got one of them.
Did they get? I don't think Burley ever played for them.
They got one of the pitchers that off. Maybe it wasn't Burley, but they got one of the pitchers that off season. They definitely didn't get Pujols, but they were like, no, they didn't. They're like, we're getting somebody. It really doesn't, like, it truly doesn't matter. Look at the basketball. The Golden State Warriors were a nobody organization that people only knew of because of Full House. Not a shot, just a fact. Andre Iguodala signed there. This wasn't some earth-shattering signing. People weren't like, oh, watch out for the Warriors. And then they became a dynasty overnight. Like, that, it happens.
The Full House reference is insane.
It's true.
Right?
It's true.
We're not going to disrespect the great Chris Mullin and Tim Hardaway and them guys like that. We're not going to do
What
that.
year did they start?
I know they played in 94. Don't ask me what year
Okay.
they started.
So that was 5 years after Full House hit TV. Thanks.
Touche, bro. You got
Thanks.
it. Touche. You got it. Touche.
Wasting my fuck. Like Danny Tanner is not more important than Chris fucking Mullen. Get out of my face. Jesus. Yeah, I don't. And that's an insane deal in this offseason. After last offseason, speaking of Heim, the one thing I will shit on him for, didn't even pick up the phone for Kevin Gosman. Now, Kevin Gosman signed for like 105 or 110 million dollars. That was probably out of his budget too. But that's where it's like, that fixes so many of your problems. I know that's 3 years now, 3 off seasons ago now, but you're not in the same position you are as an organization if you have that level of foresight. Like, hey, we know who next year's free agents are. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a surprise. They don't just be like, oh, these people are released into the wild, sign whoever you want. You know who's coming. You know who's coming down the pipeline. Have a little planning, have a little foresight. It's insane.
Oh man, the Red Sox are really broke boys, man. This is crazy. Or
But
operating like broke boys.
Right, that's
me.
the difference. They're operating like it. There's a self-imposed salary cap, and they're also not that close to the salary cap. That's the other part where they're like, we got to shed salary. No,
that's the part that's the main part I don't understand. It's like if you guys are up against the luxury tax, like stupid and fine. I don't like it. I wouldn't like it if I were y'all, but at least I could understand what you're trying to do. They're not even close to that, and they're operating like this. So I'm confused.
It's also not a thing where, like, if you sign the guy, go over the luxury tax for an hour, and then trade the other guy, you get penalized. Like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works at all. So acting like there's some order of operations that has to happen is just not reality. And the thing that really starts bothering me about, like, the Luzardo and any of the Mariners pitchers who they keep just everything I hear about the Mariners, they're like, we're not trading with the Red Sox. Like, no, we're all set. What bothers me is it's like, all right, yeah, you're willing to give up young, controllable assets to trade for a pitcher, but you have categorically ruled out ever signing a player with a qualifying offer attached because you'll lose a draft pick. What fucking sense does that make? Wow, it doesn't make any sense at all. I've racked my brain trying to be like, yeah, maybe that makes it. No, it doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make, especially when you're under the luxury tax the year before, you're giving up a worse pick. Who fucking cares?
Yeah, if you're gonna hang on to your young players, which not gonna knock that part of it. Everybody does it to some varying degrees. Then you can't also be like, yeah, we can't sign this dude because we'll attach a draft pick. When you're also telling me you might be willing to just clean yourself out for Luzardo, because we can say whatever, and we had the debate about Luzardo last week. We can say whatever we want. The pitcher market is out of control. So you're getting 3 years of team control for a guy who has ace potential. I'm not saying he is an ace, not saying he'll ever be one, but he has ace potential. You're going to have to clean yourself out for that. So you're willing to do that, but signing somebody with the qualifying offer attached to him is where you draw the line. Those two ideas don't go together. They don't.
It's one of those things where, like, I feel like Randall from Recess, like, writing in his notepad, like, I want to call someone and be like, you should fine teams for saying you're not going to sign someone with a qualifying offer. That should go against the collective bargaining agreement. Like, that's part 100%. Of the CBA. 100%. Out loud being like, we're avoiding anyone with a qualifying offer. That should be
because
legal.
You literally can't say, yeah, we're not interested in player X. It's the same thing. It's quite literally the same fucking thing. We're not going to sign anybody with a qualifying offer attached. You're saying you're not going to sign player X.
Right.
We don't know who it is at that time.
Yeah, what was it? Like 7 people got a qualifying offer this year? Like,
yes.
It wasn't a big pool.
And I feel, and as we said at that time, like back in my day, it felt like 50 people got the qualifying offer every summer. I mean, every winter. Like, I don't know this new era where 7 dudes are getting it. I don't know it.
Yeah, it's so stupid. And it's like, yeah, 3 years of team control. How the Red Sox have operated, that's not 3 years. It's 2, because they've told you anyone they don't think they can re-sign, they trade before that last year. So you're trading for 2 years. You could just fucking sign If you don't think Montgomery's going to be good for 2 years, that's one thing. Blake Snell, I would imagine, is going to be good for at least 3 years. All you have to do is give him money. Like, that's so much easier to me. So much easier.
And it's so much easier for any franchise, let alone the Red Sox and all the bullshit that they're currently on. Like, it's easy for any franchise, let alone that one.
And everything I've heard from GMs, like you talked about fantasy and making a trade, and how I like the Mariners seem to make it look pretty easy. All I hear from his GMs is like, well, it's really hard to make a trade. Everyone's going to be on the same page. Both franchises need to agree. Sometimes it takes months to get a trade done. Save yourself the fucking hassle. Just sign the guy. He's telling you what he wants. Either you have it or you don't. I know they have it, so that's where the excuses run dry.
It's so much easier to just sign players.
Sign the
Just
guy.
sign them. All you have to do is get the agent in the room, agree to terms, and for the most part, you know exactly what they're asking for. Like, yeah, with Boris, you might haggle. Fair. Like, you might haggle over details, you might haggle over dollars for a few weeks or months, depending on it. But for the most part, you're supposed to know what the ballpark is, and then go from there. That's so much easier than, all right, man. Hey, what do you want for Jesus Luzardo? Like, it's so much easier, and then you gotta go back and forth. It's like, do we need to give up Marcelo and Roman Anthony? Like, do we need to do that? I hope they do. By the way, Red Sox do that. Yeah. Give them all up. Give them all up. Especially Roman. Give him up. Thanks.
I would rather him be bad. Like, I'd rather him go 0-162 than make that trade. No doubt.
No doubt. I'd rather they need to make that trade. Are you trying to improve this year or not?
I've seen a couple people were tweeting me yesterday too. Like, obviously they're not going to trade from the top of the prospect rankings, and it's like, I know that's how
anybody's confident in that. But
well, to their credit, that's definitely what the Red Sox have been doing, is calling up people being like, hey, do you want Wickelman Gonzalez and fucking a 19-year-old? Like, they've definitely been trying that, and other teams are rightfully being like, no, we don't want that, as a matter of fact. So I have no doubt they're trying that, but Breslow all offseason has been like, we will make a trade. Like, we're making a trade for a starter. Like, that's really the only thing he said with confidence. And so it's like, all right, they're going to have to give up somebody. And I don't know. Listen, I'm sure he's a nice kid. I'm sure he'll be good. I have nothing to say he won't be good. People keep throwing Kyle Teal into this untouchable, can't trade him bucket for no goddamn reason. None.
Dude, I had to look him up myself, like on Baseball America and Baseball Prospectus. And I'm like, okay, he looks like a nice prospect. But the way I saw people talk about him, I'm like, yo, is he broke Adley Rutschman? Like, that's how people were. I don't get it. He's fine. He should not stop you from making a trade. He should.
The piece other teams want, like, if they're like, hey, we'll take one player of like Anthony, Meyer, and Teal, I know who I'm picking. Like, it's not
yes, everybody else with some sense. Yes,
I'm not hesitating there. And again, he projects to be as much of an everyday catcher as catchers can be in today's game. Like, he projects to be someone. Power's not exactly there. A lot of doubles. Good defensive catcher. Like, cool. If he plays for the Red Sox, I'm sure he'll have a fine career. If that's the piece that's blocking you from making a trade for a starter, and you'd rather put Marcelo Meyer in there, you're fucking stupid. Like, you're not a smart person.
I personally think that they should. Valuable catchers are hard to find.
You were putting Gary Sanchez in the Hall of Fame a week ago. The 500 career WAR. No one wants him right now.
It's a process. Let's calm down. It's a process. And I mean, to be fair, there are quite a few good players out there that nobody wants right now. I haven't heard Rhys Hoskins' name outside of this show for like 3 months. So, and Rhys Hoskins is like a 120 OPS plus bat year in and year out. I haven't heard his name once outside of the show, and I am very confused as to why, because he cannot possibly cost that much.
he may have lost the whole leg. To be fair, I haven't been in the operating room
Maybe
with
that's what
him.
it is.
They may
Maybe
have
that's what it is.
amputated because that's really the only explanation for
Like
his
no,
lack of
like
market.
no, you don't hear anything. Not like crumbs. Not this team is meeting with Reese. This team is like nothing, which is fucking madness to me. But Kyle Teal plays a very important spot, and he's a great prospect. And if the Red
Listen,
Sox are forced with the conundrum of trading either him or Marcelo Meyer, they should, for the health of their franchise, they should trade Marcelo Meyer. They have their middle infield set for years.
listen, we have 700 shortstops, so that's where it's like I'm not like, oh, you can't trade Marcelo Meyer. Like I would prefer not to. We have enough shorts. Like that's all we fucking
Like
have. We have
objectively
shortstops.
speaking, if Marcelo going for Lazaro, in my opinion, is not the problem. It's everything else with him. Like if Marcelo is the main piece and you throwing some bullshit, that's fair. That's fair for both.
I still
Well,
think it's an overpay, but that's me.
I true, but fair. But like that's fair for Boston. I don't know about Miami, but that's fair for Boston if you do that. Then you start talking about Marcelo. You start talking about other really good. Like no, bro. Like
I wouldn't
no.
like. I feel like I've meant to say this every episode too. Like Bayo projects to be really good. Like I'm all in on Brian Bayo. Cutter Crawford has just been good. Like he's been a good pitcher pretty much since he came up. Is he going to be an ace? No. No one's projecting to be an ace.
Right.
But I know Red Sox stats early in the offseason was like if Cutter Crawford played for the Mariners, every Red Sox fan would be creaming themselves trying to trade for him. With changing nothing, changing none of his numbers, none of his stuff,
Fair.
none of it. And it's a very fair point. Like
And
Cutter
isn't he pretty
Crawford,
young too?
I think he's like 25. Like he's definitely
Yeah,
not.
he's not even.
He's,
He's not
he's,
even old.
he's
So,
exactly
yeah.
the type of player that cost controlled, year controlled, young pitcher. Like that's, and again, you can't pick. He's one other pitcher. You have two pitchers. You have Giolito. Even if he's good, that's almost bad because then he's definitely opting out. So like you have him for a year.
It's almost bad if he's good.
You have him for ideally he's good through August and then he gets hurt. And then he's like, I have to opt in. That's the ideal situation for me with Lucas Giolito. That's absolutely ideal because then in year 2, if he throws 140 innings, year 3 is automatic. So that's perfect. That's the ideal. And that sucks. Like that's not even great, but that's the ideal Lucas Giolito experience. He's
Man,
unbelievable.
how far the Red Sox have fallen, man.
Unbelievably hurt, like car accident. Survives, no fatalities. Survives. But he's like, I can't opt out. No, I have no market now. He's back, perfectly healthy, not a scratch on him. 2 Cy Youngs after that. That's ideal. And that's a shitty way to go about hoping you get 3 years out of a guy.
I mean, the most likely alternative is he throws for a 4.8 ERA and you get him back.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's a great point. If he sucks this year, it genuinely doesn't matter because this team doesn't matter at all. Now, where, because you talked about Hoskins, Bellinger's also had no talk, no chatter about him at all. And I know people are like, well, there's risk. If you throw him a fastball over 102 miles per hour, he's not going to hit it. And he was bad 2 years ago.
102 is wild specific.
So it's like, yeah, GMs used to, like, this is where I've shit on Dombrowski plenty because I think he skated and avoided a lot of blame and criticism. What I respect about him is he does have that old school GM mentality where it's like, I'm just going to sign a good player. I don't really give a fuck about the risks. Like, there's too much risk assessment to the point where people said it paralyzed time. It's paralyzing every team in the fucking league, not named the Dodgers and the Royals somehow. It's paralyzed every other team into just making deals. Like, you've said it a million times. I've said it a million times. I don't give a shit about year 6 and 7. I really don't. I don't think most fans do. If you're going to produce the first half or 60, 70% of the contract, great. You won the deal. You absolutely won the deal. Fucking no one's going to sign a former MVP that's still not 30. That's absurd to me.
Right. Nobody was paying Yamamoto for year 9 and 10. No, you're not paying him for that. You're paying him for the first 6, 7 years, depending on how good he is at the end of it. Like you're paying him for those years, you're paying him for the peak years, and you hope you get a lot out of him, and it works out for you in that way. Nobody's paying for the back end. You're not paying for what Garrett Cole's going to do at age 38. Nobody's fucking paying for that. You're not fucking paying for that. You're paying for what he's going to do at 30, 31, 32, etc. So yeah, and the thing with Cody Bellinger, it's at a minimum, if you need an outfielder, he could play defense with the best of them at a minimum. Would I want to give him 5, 6 years at what Scott Boras might be asking for? No. But damn, like not an offer. And this is coming from me. I've been anti Cody the entire time, but not to the point where nobody is saying shit about the guy. Like nobody's saying shit. I haven't heard. Oh, we are getting the troops together to look at what we could do, what we could. Oh, nothing. It's just radio silence about Cody Bellinger, and it's been that way for weeks, months, maybe.
2 off seasons. It's not even just this off season. Last off season, there was only one team interested.
But to be fair, last offseason, didn't the Dodgers non-tender him? Like that was what happened, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So at least like if you're so bad that the Dodgers non-tender, I understand why everybody's looking at you crazy. I get that. He just came off a good season. I don't give a fuck how he got there. Like he got there how he got there.
Well, the Dodgers non-tendered him because the other option was the qualifying offer, which I think would have been about the same as what he signed for. So of course he would have just went back to the Dodgers.
I mean, the Dodgers non-tendered because he sucked. That's why the Dodgers non-tendered.
He was bad, but again, the only other option was the qualifying offer.
Right, and if he didn't suck, they would have given him it. They would have given him a qualifying offer.
I don't know if they would have. They were big on clearing books. I don't know. I genuinely don't think they would have.
Really, if he was still good, you think they wouldn't have brought him back?
Unless they're right. If they had given him the qualifying offer and he took it, I think they would have traded him. Like I don't think there was a world. I don't think there was a world he was gonna. I should have said that. I don't think there was a world he was gonna play for the Dodgers last year.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, because if they felt they could have traded him, they definitely weren't going to not give him the qualifying offer. But regardless, like yes, he won an MVP however many years ago. I tend to kind of ignore it. He's such a different player now than he was then. I tend to ignore that he won MVP. But the fact of the matter is, he still does have a high ceiling, and at the minimum, he has a high floor just strictly from a baseball perspective. Like both sides of the ball, he could contribute. He runs the bases well. He defends well. Yes, the hitting. I don't know what the fuck Cody Bellinger, what to expect from him as a hitter now or later. I have no fucking idea. But you know what to expect with everything else. And if you let him go play center, he's fine.
I think where I'm higher on Bellinger than most, one, he's cool, and I think there's still a need for cool players on every team. Like every team should have a player fans can point to and be like, all right, we lost 9-1, but Bellinger was sick today.
Like Juan Soto, right?
Example. So, yeah, you guys are gonna lose 9-1 a lot. I agree.
No, fuck you. Fuck you, bro.
But two, like it's not like he was bad without a reason. Like his fucking back was in shambles. And he's the type of guy, from everything I've read, he takes hitting very seriously, almost too seriously. Like Tiger Woods changing his putting stroke every year level seriously. So that's where it's like, you could probably calm him down off that a little bit. But even someone like JD Martinez, his last year in Boston was coming off of a bad season for him, for his standards. He went back to the Dodgers last year. He was good again. Sometimes a full season isn't the full picture of a guy. Sometimes you need to look at a 3-4 year sample. I understand that if you look at, I know I exaggerated 102. I think it's like 95 miles an hour. His batting average and OPS falls off a cliff. I don't know that that's unfixable. You know what I mean? I don't know that that's a thing that.
Well, it depends on what you want to attribute it to. Like, do we think it's mechanics or do we think his bat speed is declining?
Sure.
If it's the latter, like you're probably not fixing that. But
sure.
we've seen guys, and I'm not gonna pretend like I know anybody off the top of my head, but I know we've seen guys struggle with fastballs for a year, maybe 2.
Devers.
You fix
Rafael Devers.
Great one. Glad we could actually point to a tangible example. Great one. Yes. He struggled with fastballs for a couple of years. He fixed whatever he fixed. Not going to act like I know what. He fixed whatever he fixed, and then he was back to being himself.
I think he changed his stride and like how his knees were, because I've seen them break it down on the broadcast. Because
Right.
it wasn't you can I won't even say it's year to year, because he hit that 103 fucking mile per hour fastball left Chapman years before the Astros were like, we're gonna throw you 50 straight fastballs in a series. You're not gonna touch any of them. So you know what I mean? So like, and that's where it's like I've seen him fix it a few weeks later, and that's not a guy and over 30 where we do see bat speed decline just because that's how humans work. This is a guy in
Yeah.
his young 20s, not even mid 20s, young
Right.
20s, changing mechanics to catch up with faster pitches. I don't know that Bellinger's just stuck not being able to hit 96 ever again. I don't think that's the case.
Number one, you just didn't have to bring up the home run. Like that was wildly unnecessary in my humble opinion.
Was it or was it not a fast pitch?
I know you have other examples. I know good and well. I've watched Rafael Devers hit 85 million fastball out the park. I know you could have picked another example that didn't
was
hurt
the
me
fastest
deeply.
one.
Anyway,
literally fastest in MLB history. No one's hit a faster ball.
I would like to take a minute because you brought up cool players. I like to take a minute to dunk on a tweet I saw in your mentions last week, this week, could have been last year. I don't even fucking know. The time goes how it goes. But you mentioned your top 5 coolest players in Major League Baseball.
Oh, brother.
Ellie was one of them. Homeboy, Ultimate Warrior his way to your mentions to say something about his WRC plus and his ground ball rate, if I'm not mistaken.
For who?
Ellie De La Cruz.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And this might be too harsh, but I'll say it. Get fucked. Like, if that is your takeaway from watching Ellie De La Cruz, because Coley didn't say anything about how good or bad he was at baseball. He said none of this. Where at least, if he was to say Ellie De La Cruz was a top 10 player in baseball, okay, fine, stat him to death. That would be ridiculous. Understood. Fine. All he said was the guy is cool. He runs like hell. He wears chains and shit. He got great aura. What's the issue? He came into your mentions talking about ground ball rate. How did you think this was going to go? What was the point of that? We know good and fucking well nobody that's talking about cool baseball players a little bit. You know what? He hits too many ground balls. You're right.
I would go a step farther and say it was a bad point, because that's part of what made him so cool, is him hitting a ground ball to first and then beating
that
it
too.
Out. Like that was
right.
Part of the reason he was so high on the cool factor.
He beat out a grounder to first, like a routine-ish grounder to first. He beat it. Yes, that's cool. What are we talking about?
GMs being risk averse pisses me off, but it's to a level where I can understand it. It's part of their job. Fans acting like GMs constantly, acting like their life's on the line if they have an incorrect opinion about a player for a second, or one that can even be misconstrued as in like, what are we doing? You want to know why kids don't fucking watch baseball? That's exactly the second fans started acting like, oh, I'm Billy Bean now. That's when kids were like, oh, I don't want to do math. Why the fuck would I want to do math? We grew up with baseball cards. They didn't have WRC plus. They didn't have OPS plus. They barely had OPS on them. It was like, this guy hit a lot of home runs. Yeah, that's sick. Cool. I'm in. That's awesome. This guy struck out a lot of people. Yippee. I didn't even look at his ERA.
Right.
Who gives a
this
fuck?
Guy had 140 RBI. That's great. Like, yeah, legit.
So fans want to take away, like I see with basketball too, more and more. I see with football. Oh, EPA. I don't give a fuck what players. I've never once been like, what was the EPA on that throw? When CJ Stroud drops back, first play of the game, throws a 75-yard touchdown to Nico Collins that hits him in stride, I'm not like, well, what was the EPA on that play? It's never crossed my mind. Ever. That's not how I digest sports. I'm not saying no one should do that, because I know there are a lot of fucking nerds and dweebs out there. But if that's how the majority of fans are going to act, and it only happens with baseball, yeah, then we're all fucking nerds and dweebs, which I am not. So I refuse to engage in fandom that way. Now, you want to talk about fantasy, you want to talk about underdog, you want to talk about making a little scratch, putting it in your pocket. Yeah, you should probably crunch some numbers, because I'm out there flying by the seat of my pants, putting these five ways in, hitting none of them. So yeah, that's where the nerds would be super helpful. But when we're just talking about sport, when we're just talking about love of the game, I don't give a fuck. Yeah, it's cool when I look at Pedro's ERA plus from 98 through 02. But that's not what I remember. I don't remember the fucking baseball reference page. I remember him on Fenway Park in the All-Star game. Doesn't even count towards any of his stats. Standing on the mound in Fenway Park, Ted Williams barely able to keep his eyes open on the first baseline. Watched him strike out 5 of the 6 greatest players of all time, not of that year, of all time. No problem. That's what I remember about baseball. And when I talk about cool players and I talk about Jorge Soler, yeah, there's plenty of risk with signing Jorge Soler. He may also hit one out of the city of Houston with the World Series on the line, because that's something he's done in the real world and something that should be celebrated the same way Albert Pujols' home run is celebrated. Even more so because it actually won a World Series, not just punched their ticket.
That was lovely. I appreciated that rant. Listen, there's a time and I feel like there's just a time and a place. Like, do I indulge in the nerd discussions? Yes. Sometimes do I just want to talk about how cool it is that Ellie De La Cruz runs from first to home in like 3 seconds? Yeah, sometimes I just want to talk about that. I don't like his ground ball rate and his K rate. Like, yeah, that's a different topic for a different time. But quite frankly, there are some players I don't really want to discuss their stats in general. Like, unless it's just like Fernando Tatis Jr., like, all right, he was off to a historic start in his career. And even then, like, I still don't give a fuck about his OPS. Like, I like watching him play. He's cool as shit. He's a bit of a troll too. He likes to troll other fan bases, which I really appreciate in a player. I just want to talk about that. Like, we can talk about his OPS plus if you'd like. Cool. That's just not the first thing. There are certain players that I just want to appreciate them and the vibes that they bring. Acuna stole 650 bases this year. Like, he stole all the bases, everybody's bases. Do I really care? No, I don't. Acuna just cool as shit. He's cool as shit. And underrated funny thing about Acuna, and this might be a little bit weird, and that's fine. How he reacts to hit by pitches is really funny. I'm sorry, because every hit by pitch,
Like
you would think he's out for the season. Like, he's dead, bro. Every single one. It can hit him. It can hit him in the ribs. It can hit him in the buttocks. It can hit him in the foot. You could bring a knuckleballer in and hit Ronald Acuna, and he would act like he got shot. It's the funniest thing. But some guys just like, yo, I want to discuss how cool they are, bro. I don't really give a fuck about their numbers. Manny Ramirez, if you played for quite literally anybody else, it would just be, man, did you see that dumb shit he did in the outfield? Fuck his numbers. That's immaterial to me. Until we're talking about his Hall of Fame case, fine. Then it's a different ball game altogether. But yeah, that homeboy in you mentioned, like, I'm past the days where I would barge in and tell him to go pound sand. So I didn't. But man, I really wanted. I was like, man, go get fucked, bro. In the most literal sense too. Because if I say Ellie's cool, you're just like, what about his WRC plus from his age 21 season? What are we doing?
That's where it's like, even discussing Ellie's numbers yet is so goddamn stupid to me, because seeing what he was capable of at that age, at this level, yeah, I'm projecting forward. I'm doing the same thing with O'Neal Cruz too. He's not even the fucking only Cruz in that division I'm projecting forward with, just because they're both cool as shit. Yeah, feed me all these 6'7" shortstops that have
Please.
120 exit velos and also are fast as shit. Like, yeah, that's cool as shit. It's not something we get a lot of. Somehow we have 2, and they're gonna play each other 15 times a year, God willing.
I really appreciate it,
Yeah,
and I need them to be like Bird and Magic, just going at each other, just doing dope ass shit. Like, every time they play, it would be fantastic. Like, that's what I need. But like, Acuna and Soto like ruined it for everybody, and Vlad to a lesser degree, because they came in and they hit the ground running, and they never stopped. And then we just assume that like every other rookie that's gonna come up is supposed to do that. No, that's not how it works. Them boys are outliers.
Julio Rodriguez the same way. Like that, it happens. Right. It's not impervious, but even like Tristan Casas last year, Anthony Volpe last year, they get off to slow starts, and people were like, "Well, this guy's never going to be good." It's like, I understand we're a very in the moment sports society right now. You see it a lot with the NBA on a play to play basis, which drives me fucking insane.
Oh my god!
But with baseball too, it's like, can we like take a 10,000 foot view for a second here and just be like, all right, what actually is the problem? Is it a big problem or is it a today problem? If it's a big problem, yeah, let's discuss it. If it's he struck out in the third inning, listen, that you're not gonna get a lot of. I've got kids. I don't have time. I don't have time to be like, oh man, Jaylen Brown missed a shot in the second quarter. That's not the end of the world to me. That's not gonna collapse the house on top of my head. That's not how it is.
I really appreciate the I'm a man, I got kids from you. It's great. I
I've
got
just
kids,
got
man.
more shit to care about. I
Like
have so
Jaylen Brown
much.
missed 3 straight shots in the second quarter. So what? Like Anthony Volpe was a 22-year-old rookie who didn't play above double A until he got to the majors. Like, will he suck? Maybe. I don't fucking know. Am I gonna take anything from his rookie year in either direction? Quite frankly, no. Because he could have played well. I'd be like, all right, let's see him stack good season after good season after good season. Because I watched Gary Sanchez's career. That was a
Sure,
cautionary tale.
sure.
Gary Sanchez came out and was the best hitter in baseball for 2.5 months in his rookie season. And he was really good at 19, and then it was never the same after that. Some guys are the reverse. They suck and then they're great. But these are
That's
20,
that's
21 year
most
old
of them.
kids.
That's
Right.
most
That's most of them.
players in Major
They're
League
20,
Baseball.
21, 22-year-old kids, bro, coming from either double A, like in some cases double A because they fast track guys more these days, and then triple A. And it's not the same as the major leagues. Hitting major league pitching is fucking hard. Playing in the major leagues is hard. You have to adjust to a lot of shit. And sometimes you're going to stink. 5 people in like the last 30 years being great immediately does not change that.
It's a well now. I mean, there's 5 people in the Orioles who were great immediately this last year.
And the owner's already telling you he don't know how he don't got it.
Yeah, yeah.
He don't got it. Like, I don't know if I can pay these guys, bro. They've been in the league 8 minutes. The fuck are
Yeah.
you talking about?
He's like, well, free agency. We'll see ARB 3 if we can swing that. I don't even know about free
Like,
agency.
sir, that's 2030. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't know. Baseball was just a lot cooler when there was less concern about every goddamn thing. Oh, I can't sign a pitcher. He only plays 30 games. It's like, all right, those are 30 important games. And then there's the playoffs where you better fucking have those pitchers. I tell you what, you don't have those pitchers, you're in for a tough sledding. I don't get it. I just don't get it. The ownership being cheap is like a plague across sports. It's not even just a baseball problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, I understand more than just like the risk cowardice that we see from most teams, but especially big. It pisses me off more when it's a big market team. Pisses me off the most when it's my big market team. That's when it's like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Are we sure the Red Sox are a big market team?
By every definition, they are. They
They don't seem to realize that.
No,
they might disagree with you.
They definitely don't want to be at this juncture, and it's just like, all right, then sell the team. Like that, the value is not going to go up tremendously over 2 years. You know what I mean? If that's the plan, what's the wait?
I mean, it will go up though. It might not go up a lot, but it's going to go up.
By what though?
I don't know. I'm not Forbes magazine. I don't fucking know.
Based on like what we've seen, what do you think they go for? Like $4 billion,
give or take.
Yeah, so it's gonna be like 4.2 in 2 years. Like it's not gonna jump to 5.
That's real money.
It's not.
That's real money. They would disagree with you. Clearly, based on how they act in the offseason, they would disagree with you.
Well, based on my point earlier, I don't think that's their plan. I don't think they're about to sell. That's more where I'm at.
I don't think so either. Because I don't. When have we ever heard somebody like, yeah, I'm going to sell the team 2 years from now, so that's why I'm not signing free agents now? It's one thing if you were telling me like 5 years from now and you're slow playing this, like, I could squint hard enough and believe that 2 years from now, he's just going to get up and be like, all right, you know what? Peace. I'm selling the team.
Is someone buying, like, genuinely an international brand like the Boston Red Sox being like, listen, I would give you 4, but since you gave Blake Snell $180 million over 6 years, the offer's 3 now. Like, that's not how it's going to happen. It's not what's going to
Blake Snell just
happen.
brings the property value down the whole.
Yeah, like, that's not how this works. That's not how this works at all.
I don't know what they're doing, but I appreciate it. And I hope they keep doing it.
I'm trying to think of the other deals that happened before we got out of here. Robbie Ray got traded for Mitch Haniger. Very strange deal.
Seattle just doing that thing again. Like, all right, we're not paying it, so here you go, and just giving away Robbie Ray, who is a perfectly good starter. Kind of weird to me, and I don't know. Mitch Haniger's cool, bro. There's 20 Mitch Hanigers in free agency every year. No disrespect, but
Mitch Haniger was in free agency last year.
Exactly. There's 20 Mitch Hanigers in free agency every single season, so I'm not like he's a nice addition to any lineup. I'm not here to knock him, but his archetype is available all the fucking time. And Robbie Ray, again, I'd like for you to look at the fucking pitching market and what we're asking for people like Jesus Luzardo to get traded for. We're asking people like Montgomery to get in free agency. They could have kept Robbie Ray. They're just broke. Or, excuse me, they're acting like they're broke.
I don't even know if it's that, because he's not supposed to, like, he's still recovering. He's not going to be ready for opening day. Like, I think he's a second half of the year guy.
Second half is important.
It is. I mean, the Mariners still don't know how 162 game season works. They're trying to win like 50% of their games over a decade span, according to them. But they do have all this young pitching, and where it never made sense to me, because this started back at the trade deadline, the Mariners are looking to trade one of their young controllable pitchers for like a bad bat. That never made any sense to me. Trading Robbie Ray, a guy they definitely like, that's where it's like, all right, yeah, Blake Snell winning a Cy Young and getting paid. That makes sense to me. Robbie Ray winning a Cy Young and then getting paid Cy Young money. That didn't make sense to me at the time. And the Mariners seem to agree 3 years ago.
They do. That they do.
But that's where it makes, like, yeah, they have, everyone's calling them for their young pitchers. I think they were just like, why would we trade any of these fucking guys? Does anyone want the old guy? Does anyone want the old guy who's maybe our number 5? That's where it makes a lot of sense to me.
It does.
And getting a player they're already comfortable with, who had his best years with them, that makes sense to me. And I know they got like a reliever or two with it or whatever the fuck. That was, I understood both sides of that. The Giants were like, we never really wanted Mitch Haniger. We just needed to sign somebody after everything that's gone on with us for like 10 years now. And that swap made sense to me for both sides. I like that. And hopefully now people will stop being like, oh, let's trade Tristan Casas and Marcelo Meyer for Brian Wu. Hopefully that's all done now.
Why would that be done?
Why? What other? Well, now the Mariners need all their young pitchers. They don't have any more.
Damn.
Who? I feel like there was another deal. There's never a ton of deals, but I feel like there was. We talked about the Hernandez one was the other one I was thinking of, but we touched on that. The latest Jorge Soler news is that the Red Sox aren't close.
No way. Like, are you making that up, or are you being?
No, I'm not making that. That's as of Monday.
Not close. I don't. What are the Red Sox doing? But they're not close. How are you not close on a DH only player who's not Shohei Ohtani? I don't.
Well, for this one, it seems like they're not close because they were focused on Hernandez and pitching, whatever that means. And then once Hernandez signed, it was like, all right, we'll look at Soler, preliminary talks. And I think there's like 5 reported teams in on him. So it wasn't like we're not close, like we offered him 10 cents. It's just like we're not close to anything being close to confirmed. Now, I also have no faith that they're going to ever get close. And that goes back to my previous point. Like, I have the lowest of expectations for this next season. Having Jorge Soler on there would make it a much more enjoyable watch for me, because outside of the stretches where he goes like 1 for 30 with 29 strikeouts, he's going to hit some of the farthest home runs I've ever seen in my life. And that's sick. Like, that's worth the price of admission for me.
That's fun. Like, that's how I felt about Joey Gallo. It just did not work out that way at all.
Well,
But that's how it
Gallo
felt
was
at the
bad at
time.
all. Like, I know Solaire's going to be bad if he ever plays in the field, which I hope he doesn't. Gallo was like a gold glover who then just started dropping routine pop flies on top of it.
What was funny was he was fine and right, and then he went to left and just it looked like he never played baseball. It was the weirdest shit. Like he was
Insane.
fine and right, couldn't play left. And the thing is, that wasn't even just Yankee Stadium either.
No,
Like
I
he couldn't
remember
play left anywhere.
specifically
It
at
was
Fenway. He was
very strange.
terrible.
Yes, it
Terrible.
was very strange that he could not. He just magically could not play left. When we've seen him play center at a high level, and we've seen him win Gold Gloves and right, and then you put him in left, it's like nope, can't do it. I don't get that one, but that's how.
ever since the Castellanos shit that the Phillies did, like I overlooked, never even considered guys tracking fly balls from angles like that. Kind of, I guess it's not a perfect comparison, but like every once in a while they'll take a left tackle and try and flip him to right tackle, and it's like this guy has no idea what he's doing anymore. Like elite left tackle can't even block me out there playing right tackle. Like for whatever reason, I've heard some offensive linemen be like, it's like using your non-dominant hand to write or do anything. And I guess that's similar because the Phillies' big thing was like, Nick Castellanos couldn't catch a cold out there, and then they kind of just made him play like center field and right field, and him taking that angle to balls, he became good, not necessarily elite, but good. And it's just like I'd never like they basically had him playing left field but in right field, if that makes any sense, and
Yeah,
that helped them tremendously. So I like Gallo being elite and right and not being able to play left. Maybe it was just as simple as like, yeah, he couldn't read the ball coming off the bat from that angle.
I don't understand how he could do it in the other two and then can't do it in the left, but
I don't either, but that's the only thing I can think of because you just don't forget how to catch. You know what I mean? It has to
and
be.
You don't forget how to attack baseball, how to attack baseballs and the routes to get them. Like you don't just forget, but
at that level, because if you see like elite center fielders like Kiermaier, like JBJ, when you see elite center fielders, they're somehow moving the correct direction, like while the guy's swinging, let alone after he's made contact.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So if it's all angle, you know what I mean? If it's all just like knowing, even the ball coming off the pitcher's hand, seeing where the catcher is lined up, like, oh, could this be an outside pitch to a lefty? That would be coming my way in left field. Whereas if you've been playing right field your whole career, it's not even crossing your mind. I can get it a little bit, but he didn't ever come close to being able to grasp it
at all.
But it's been another week. Luckily, there were some deals. The top of the market will maybe move at some point.
Yeah, by Valentine's Day.
It's bad. It's always last offseason was people thought it was just going to be the same thing over and over again.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
And mostly I just want to put my goddamn phone down. I keep opening it being like, is there a deal? There's never a deal. There's never a deal.
Listen, I have Jack Curry's notifications turned on, and every time he tweets now, it's not about baseball, and I want to launch my phone at a wall. Every time, I'm like, oh, did something happen? Something went down? And then it's like, song of the day. I don't give a fuck about your song of the day. All due respect. All due respect.
Oh,
shout out to Jack
How old is Jack Curry?
Got to be in his 50s or 60s, probably.
Okay. So he might not know that people have his notifications on.
I doubt that. I think he has an idea. I think he knows.
Because like Castillo,
but we can't just tell him to not tweet. Like it's not his fault that the fucking free agent market is moving at the speed of Jorge Posada trying to run the first. It's not his fault.
Listen, Chris Castillo, I mention him all the time on this show. He's really the only reporter I read at this point. When him, I said it to him yesterday. I was like, there hasn't been, and like, it's not his fault. I can't remember the last time he tweeted something and it brought me like a semblance of joy. Like not a single semblance of joy.
And you have his notifications turned on. I take it.
No, I've never had anyone's notifications turned on ever. But it's like I'm on there enough that when I see his avatar pop up like even earlier today, I was going to look for the tweet. He starts it off with source, and he's young, like he's younger than me, so he knows what the fuck he's doing. Source, Mariners. Already, people are like, finally claim Mauricio Llovera from Red Sox. Like, no one gives a fuck. I know it's his job to tweet that. I know that, but god damn it, nobody cares.
He had you at the beginning. He had you at the beginning. And then
I mean, yesterday he tweeted like there will be a Red Sox move tomorrow because they DFA'd this guy, so they're either going to have to outright release him, like that was the deadline to either release him or someone else is going to claim him. And when I saw that, I was just like, "You gotta be shitting me." So we'll see.
sign somebody, Yankees, please.
Just anyone, other teams just keep doing things, and if the markets came cratering down like it did for Shota, maybe my poor ass team can now get involved.
Doubtful.
Yeah, doubtful because they made a non-competitive offer for the poor guy, for the guy who was no money at all.
Hide the money, y'all. There's poor people around.